everybody, happy Friday. This is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now this is our weekly live stream where we talk about whatever we want to talk about. We'll answer questions, we'll chat, we'll just, shoot the breeze, talk about whatever we fancy. Now this week has been a tough week for me. It's been busy. I have no idea where the time goes. It's like one of those weeks where you get to the end of it, you go, man, where did all the time go? I did go to the races this week, which was kind of cool, but also it was like loads of meetings and stressing out about a couple of projects that we're working on and just doing all that kind of stuff. And I didn't even get a video done for Wednesday. It's not that I didn't have any ideas. I have loads of ideas for videos to do, like topics I want to cover, but I just didn't have time to just get one done. And tomorrow's Saturday. I don't know if we'll have any more then either. In fact, I'm thinking about just waiting till 2020 and then just starting doing videos again then and try to keep like the regular pace. Because this year, 2019, I don't know what 2019 was for you guys, but for me, I'm glad it's nearly over. It continues to just kick my butt, both in business and personal stuff, just all over the place. And that was like, this year, God, if I think about this time last year, I think I did a video, talked about how in 2018 I did 380 videos. It was like hundreds of hours and all these views, and the channel was really growing and the business was growing, and we moved into a bigger office. So something just flew out of my mouth there. Ate a Snickers bar just before the thing. So like all this stuff was going on, and I had my Mustang and I had the bigger office and the staff, and then this year just kind of went right. But trying to keep things going. It's always been that whenever you have a tough day, it's always like, do we continue to advance or do we retreat? Do we go look for a contract? Do we go just try to see if we can find something just to wait out the tough times, or do we advance and just go out there and focus more on marketing, focus more on putting stuff out there? So it is always ups and downs, and I wish I could say that I was always steadfast and really doing things the right way, but sometimes we're just like, So I know some of you guys, maybe you guys got married in 2019, maybe 2019, or you had kids, or maybe 2019 is the best year of your life. But for me, I'm glad it's coming to an end, man. But this might be the last video we do. We got Christmas next week, which I'm not prepared for, and it's just been a tough week, but it's still, the live stream is my favorite part of the week, so I'm really glad that you guys are here. First of all, I'll say C89HD, hi, how's it going C89HD from the movie Rise of Skywalker, which I hope to see this weekend, maybe. Mega Man 2016, hey, how's it going? Court Funk is here, Smart Technology is here, Hussein Gokas, Smart Technology, hi, sir. You have to call me sir, you can call me Eric, I make apps. Appavella, happy Friday, thank God it's here. Cord Funk, yo Eric, you experienced any working with MQTT or IoT devices? IoT is kind of for a while IoT was kind of like Web 2.0, at least in my opinion. It was like Web 2.0, where it was this buzzword that people were using and to communicate with devices, but it wasn't so much like a framework in and of itself. So we have a couple of apps that we've done that communicate with Bluetooth devices, just like to get readings and set settings on it and everything like that, which has been fun. And I guess that's Internet of Things, right? Because we got these manufacturers producing like construction equipment that has Wi-Fi. Well, one of them had Wi-Fi functionality, which we communicated with via UDP. Another one was Bluetooth, right? And usually when we have these devices, the downside of that is I can't give it to my friends overseas, because then I have to send all this stuff in the mail and everything, and it gets messy. So a lot of times I'll work on the communication side of it myself, but nothing in terms of MQTT, like nothing really official, like it was that way. I mean, it's something I'd like to look into, but every time I look at Internet of Things, people keep talking about the same thing, the smart refrigerator, the smart this, the smart that, and it's like for me, being like so there's two things you could do. You could either do apps for a client, which is totally makes sense to do Internet of Things, because they might have a product and you're building the app for that. But as like a app developer putting stuff on the app market, it kind of depends on whether or not people would pay for that and what exposes a public API and things like that. One thing that I have been struggling with is we do have I have been trying to connect to a Wi-Fi camera right? Which was manufactured. Which is manufactured in China, but I can't. But they want to give any API things. So I spent like days just trying to hack the thing, looking at the UDP traffic going back and forth, right? So, but they had like, it was just, so in the end I wasn't able to do it. I was trying to do it for a client, and in the end I had to say, sorry, we need to get a different camera. But that kind of stuff, and I like doing that where you have the high rates of communications and everything like that. But that's my only experience. Patrick Shuriat says, hey Eric, how's your Friday? I would like you to share which of your app is currently the most paying and how many daily organic downloads you get with the app. Thanks. Yeah, right now it's probably on iOS. It's probably still EarSpy on iOS. It probably has the most downloads because it's been removed from Google Play. In terms of the other ones, they're all pretty much the same. I think it's probably Hebrew Bubble Bath does the best. And in terms of how much it makes, it's not a lot. Like I said, the majority of my revenue at the moment comes from AdMob still, but it comes from the EarSpy on iOS. And on iOS, I only have a handful of apps now. Because at one point, I had hundreds of apps on the App Store. You guys, going back in the days, we're just like, okay, let's release another one. And then Apple started to kick up a fuss saying, you got to combine all of these apps into one application and have like a container app. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do it. Screw that. I'm not doing it. Right. And now I'm coming around to it. Well, maybe I'll do it. I don't know if anybody will download it. My problem with so to give you an example, we have different language learning games like the Bubble Bath ones. Hebrew Bubble Bath is one. So we have like 22 different languages. They all have their own music. They all have their own text, their own graphics, their own. So while the gameplay is the same and it's like a reskin of each one, they're all very much different. So some of them I had to slow down the languages. Some of them I had to introduce romanization because, like, if you have something like Mandarin, for example, you want to have pinyin, or if you have Korean, I guess it's kanji, is it? Or yeah, so the romanization of all these ones for some languages, and other ones you don't. So it was so I put these all out. So I had like hundreds of apps on the App Store, and then they started to reject them. And then they started to reject anything I put through, even if it wasn't even related to those. It was just like knee-jerk reaction, reject it. So in the end, I thought, okay, I won't release any updates ever. And then GDPR came out. Whatever was it, last year? I guess it was 2018, in May 2018. And then I had to update them all, and I couldn't because Apple was not doing it. So in the end, I just removed most of them. So I only have a handful of apps on the App Store, but it does bring in a bit of money there. And the ad revenue on iOS is much better than it is on Google Play. But I think it's probably because there's less inventory. I think apps don't survive as long on the App Store as they do on Google Play, because Google Play apps could stay there forever until there's a like a upgrade to SDK 28, or they'll have something come out, or target audience. So like even if you had an app you did 5 years ago and you never touched it, if it weren't for the target audience and the other new the other type of things that they keep bringing up that you have to update, and if you didn't touch it at all, they would still be there. So Rodrigo says, do not wait for 2020. You did good until now. Do at least 2 more. 1 week, 1 per week left. Yeah, okay, all right, Rodrigo. I'll do a couple more videos, right? I love doing the video. The videos, if I could just do videos, actually no, I love doing apps too. I love doing apps, but it's just been, there was so much came in this year, and just and some projects took longer than they should, and then I had one client towards the beginning of the year that didn't pay, and that was like that really and then we had this real slowdown because I think economic uncertainty, and there's just like a lot of things going wrong this year, and it's just like I'm just glad to see it go, and it's not like so at one point I was just like, you just fall into this malaise. So, but I love doing the videos. That was one fun bit. I think last year I was doing them 7 days a week. And you know what I loved about doing them 7 days a week is I was, how many people could do that? I felt like, even if even if the money was okay and money from the apps and everything was okay and everything else was like, dude, no one could touch me when it comes to that. And then it was more just getting hit with a few things here and there. Somebody on my team said, I think you should stop doing them every day. You should start doing them, just do 2 a week and then make them better quality, right? And in the end, it was, and then he said, and you should do tutorials, right? So I think I did a couple tutorials, and it wasn't fun at all. It wasn't like, I couldn't just talk about what I wanted to talk about. I felt like I was afraid I was going to leave something out. Like I was going to talk about something, and then sometimes I'll do a video and somebody will say, you've already covered this topic. And then I think, oh, yeah, now I can't. So it's like always second guessing. And I think I've just kind of been in so my apologies to you guys, first of all. My apologies to, because I appreciate you guys watching the channel, but I just kind of like, sometimes I'm just in a funk, right? But I think that's normal. It's like everybody. And this year just sucked. Down with 2019. I shouldn't say it because it's still here and it can still kick my butt a little bit before the end of the year. But, and it did today, which I won't go into. But, let's see. Cord Funk says, glad to hear I'm not the only one who had a rough year. Yeah, no, it was tough. Simon Suppertime, jingle, jingle. Apavelli says, do you use post GRESQL? How do you pronounce that? I always read it, but I never pronounce it. I don't think I've ever used it. I use, God, I'm blanking now. I use MySQL, I use SQL Server. I've used Oracle. I've used, God, what's the other language? There's like a really old one that nobody uses anymore. It starts with I. Not Nginx. Informix database. I use Informix databases at one job that I had, and then the one that we always use in the apps, which is God, what is it? Why am I okay? What's the one we use? The one we always use in Android. See, there we go. I'm just not SQL. Oh man, what is it? Android SQL. What is it? So, and I've also used the one Web SQL. I've used Web SQL and the other one. This is it. You guys are all screaming at me that you know what it is. PHP MySQL. No. Oh, no, I'm not finding it. Oh, SQL. SQLite. I knew it was it. I kept thinking mini SQL. SQLite. Boy, this is gonna be one of those live streams. This is gonna be one of those live streams where everything just kind of falls off my head. Hope you guys bear with me. It's gonna be fun though. Like my tree. A lot of planning went into that tree. Do I use Postgre? But no, I have never used Post. Is it Postgre SQL? Somebody phonetically spell it out. Too much eggnog. Yeah, right. So but no, I've never used that one. I assume it's similar though, right? It's a SQL-based database. We have a project now, which is we have a project that we're doing in SQL Server, right? And now for me, SQL Server was like that used to be my bread and butter, right? It was just, if you weren't going through a stored procedure, you weren't putting anything in that database, right? So everything was stored procedures and command procedures and everything. And then when the entity framework came out, people started kind of move away from stored procedures a little bit. But we have a client that wants stored procedures, so the developers they know MySQL really well, so they're not really so much SQL Server. So like some of the naming conventions are more MySQL-ish, right? Which is not, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's still, everything's fine, but they're also they're not using stored procedures as much as I thought. So, but there's one thing about SQL-based databases is they're so similar to each other. The developer said, one of our developers said she's trying to get used to SQL Server. I said, well, it's pretty much the same. You have some differences in the where clause, like if you want to do it randomly or show the first 10, show top 10, whatever, rather than limit 10. And there's certain things that will trip you up a little bit, but it's easy to Google it. But by and large, it still joins and all that stuff. And she said, yeah, but when you truncate a table, the numbers don't start back at 0 on an identity field. And I was like, really? That's what you noticed? Um, but let's see. Accord Funk says, not a question, but Flutter for web is now in beta. Any thoughts? Are you going to start provide web services as well? So Accord Funk, it's easy. It's interesting you say that because some of the stuff that we're doing now is web based. However, but I keep thinking that maybe we should do like not just say apps. So I still say I make apps, but every so often I'll slip into that mobile and web apps, right? Because I think it's a big difference, right? If I say I did websites, like I think there's like two different skill sets. There's a company down the hall that does they do websites, right? And I was like, I've done websites before, just like client facing front end websites, and I'm not a fan. Like getting the right font, getting the right color schemes, getting all your CSS perfect. CSS I'm fine with, but it's just the there's so much design involved in it, like, and also the cross-browser compatibilities. If you do like just a web app, like say this is for a certain group of people, or it's you could kind of control, like with that kind of thing, you can control what kind of a browser they should be using. Like if you had a web app that was meant for a business, like a bank, and you said this should only be used on Chrome, on Chrome versions past whatever 37, or it could only be used on Chrome, Safari, recent versions of Safari, Firefox, and Microsoft Edge, right? You could specify that, like if it's for internal, like it's actually a web application. Now, if it's like client facing, then they could be coming on anything. They could be on some old, IE6 browser and everything. And that was one of the things but that's what, even doing Ionic is a web view. Ionic and Cordova-based apps, not pick on Ionic, but Cordova-based apps are in a web view, but you have control over that web view. Like you know what it is. It used to be a little bit of confusion, like if you were using the old Android browser and then when Chrome came in, but for the most part, you have like control over that, which is much better than just doing straight out web. But yeah, I mean we have a few web things going on now. Ignacio Vela. Hi, Eric. Hello. Say hello to Argentina. Hello, Argentina. I hope you're all doing well. Merry Christmas. But thanks, Ignacio. You got the coolest name. I know there's so many names that I could say over and over again. All right, let's just go, not to pick on anybody, but let's compare two names. Ignacio Vela. Chord Funk. Ignacio Vela. Chord Funk. See, I'm just saying, you can have a little more rhythm to it, Chord Funk. I'm just teasing. I guess I'm just having one of those days. Had one of those weeks. Had one of those years. It's not just going to be a new year. It's going to be a new decade. My son the other day, he said, I was talking about my New Year's resolutions. So I'm big on New Year's resolutions. And when people say it's just a date on a calendar, you can start now, I'm thinking, I need any psychological trickery I can use. So I'm cool with New Year's resolutions. And he said, you should make a decade resolution. I can't commit to that kind of thing. So no, but like, where do you think you're going to be in 2030? And I thought that was actually an interesting exercise. Like said, like a 10-year goal, because we're going to 2020. There's I'm going off on all these tangents, but there's a really good article by Seth Godin. Let me see if I can find it. And I know I mentioned it on one of the daily videos before. Where were you in the... let's see if I share my screen here. Now, if you have a chance, take a look at this article from Seth Godin. I know we're going into 2020, but this came out in 1999. I remember reading it back then. And somebody sent it to me in 2008, and I said, no, I remember reading that. But it's all about... the article is just as relevant now, because what he talks about is... when you got to the end of the 1990s, you were looking at, I should have acted back then. I should have acted back then when, the internet hadn't started yet, when money was cheap and all this stuff, and then we're always looking back, thinking if I was gonna start, I should have started back then. When he said, maybe you've already clipped behind the mirror, asked, what did you do in the 1990s? What's your biggest regret during that decade? And what are you going to do in this next decade? And something I've been thinking about in terms of the 2020s. Like, what do I want to be at the end of 2030, right? I shouldn't be moaning as much as I am today, but because it's really, the future is very bright. Like, you think about it, at least we're in the app market. We're doing mobile apps, and you could either be thinking, you know what, this is going to be mobile apps are dying, which I hear from time to time. Oh, mobile apps are on their way out and all this stuff, and or you could think, dude, we're just getting started. We have this whole new medium of applications on your phone, and I think Corfa, when you're talking about doing IoT and stuff like that, that's a huge, we've had so many apps out there that have been they could have been a website. They easily could have been a website. And some of them probably should have been a website, or some of them are apps and websites, which is totally cool. But when you get to something like Internet of Things and stuff like that, that's where mobile is going to take off, and even augmented reality, stuff like that. So and it might be something to look into a bit more for my size. So let's see. Be Smart says, "Hi Eric, do you use email marketing?" Let's see. Oh, and Rodrigo says everybody smash the like button. He says everybody hit the like button. Thank you. I appreciate it if you do. So Be Smart says, "Hi Eric, do you use email marketing? It's a good winner tool, and how do you build your list if you use it?" So I have used it, but I've not been very good at it. I've used it on our website, on the Overpass website, and we're doing newsletters for a while, and I know. And the reason I keep going back to it is because everybody keeps saying how well it works for them. And for me, I just haven't really seen it. Like I use two different services. I use MailChimp and I use GetResponse. GetResponse has a lot more functionality in terms of workflow diagrams and everything like that. Really, really cool. However, I found that most of my emails from GetResponse went straight to spam. And MailChimp, so I think I have my list up to, I don't know, several thousand. I think it might have been like 5,000 or 6,000, but it was going through EarSpy. So EarSpy was doing really well, and I thought, how could we get this on, how can we get email addresses and go that way? Because you read these books like The Invisible Selling Machine, or even the all of them, the .com secrets, everything. So I was building up this list, and then I was never doing any marketing towards them. So we had like this, we had a progression, like I think it was 12 or 13 weekly emails would go off. We call it spy training. So it was like the first one, how to read lips, how to go in disguise, all this stuff. So we just wrote these articles, and they were going out, and it was kind of cool, and it was fun, right? But every time I would try to put an affiliate link in there, I would go to ClickBank and get an affiliate link and send it off. MailChimp would suspend the email, right? They would suspend the whole thing, thinking, no, that's spammy. You can't send that out. Otherwise, you'll get get marked as spam, and it will damage all of MailChimp. So, so in the end, I just kind of stopped doing that, and then I realized this email list was growing, but I wasn't doing anything with it, and it was just costing me money. So in the end, I canceled it. And now in retrospect, and every so often I think about this again, what I should have been doing was setting up landing pages for those affiliate links, so that I wasn't just including the dodgy affiliate link, whatever MailChimp thought it was, in there, and then I could have done it on my own landing pages. And then it goes back to the point of, but then you go back to the bit, like, if MailChimp is not going to accept it, then why should I be accepting it? Like, I don't want to be, like, it's very seductive to think, I could do these affiliate links and then I'll just make revenue off of this stuff, but then you think, well, they're my users and they trust me, and or they're the channel viewers. Like, the reason I haven't done a sponsored video yet is not because I haven't been asked, not because offers haven't been made, but just part of it is like, so yeah, I guess I could tell you guys. I wasn't going to tell you who there was, but the tool made me an offer to, like, if I talk about the tool, do a video about the tool. The tool is an ASO tool. They gave me like the full access to the whole thing, which is really expensive, and I would have got like a percentage. Like, if any of you guys signed up for it using an affiliate link, I would have got a percentage for the first year. You guys would have, like, we could have offered a discount and everything. But every time I went to go look at it, I was not that impressed with it. Like, it was kind of like, I thought, and I didn't want to go that way. And and even though I get criticized by friends and people I work with are saying you need to monetize that channel. And I'm like, oh, just ads in the beginning, right? But I think it's just that kind of thing really just made me feel sleazy when I got down to it. But yeah, so let's go back to the affiliate thing. So if you were going to do email marketing from within your apps, you could. So what we did was, first I tried to get our developers to put like the MailChimp SDK in the Android app, right? And they just kept messing it up, right? They just kept and it was just so difficult to test. So in the end, I was like, screw it. We just have we just had a page on our. So we just had we have a WordPress site. So on the WordPress site, we just had the MailChimp opt-in thing, and then we just had the link go straight to the website. That way I could change it when I wanted to. And so if they go to spy training, it will go there, they register, and then they come on the list, they get the double opt-in, all that kind of stuff going through MailChimp. We transferred it to GetResponse, and in the end I was just paying too much for it and not actually making any money from it. However, if you can make it work, all the power to you. But what we did was we said, that was it. We didn't even offer anything. There was no lead magnets. It wasn't like we'll unlock a feature. None of that kind of stuff. It was just, if you want to, you'll get this weekly newsletter. Now, at one point when I set it up with my personal email address going out, and I thought that was fine. I didn't really so I get spam all the time, right? But somebody actually called me through FaceTime and started cussing me out because he said I was spamming him. And I was like, no, you opted in. All you have to do is unsubscribe. There's an unsubscribe link at the bottom of every link. And it wasn't the greatest experience. But if you make it work, right? That's the one question I get asked a lot when occasionally somebody will say, we would like to buy this app from you. And I was like, cool, right? But then they'll say, can you tell us what the email addresses are of all the users of the app? And I said, no, I don't have that information. Now I could get it, right? If you offer enough, even if you have something like Facebook authentication, one of the nice things about that is you can ask for additional information when you do that, like gender and stuff like that, which you could use in advertising. I'm just. Cord Funk, it was SQLite. So let's see. Arvochi? Is that how you pronounce it? Arvochi? My Google Play Publisher account is terminated, but I have made a great app. What should I do? Have a look. Put it on Amazon. I put it on the Amazon App Store, put it on the Amazon App Store. At least get it out there somewhere else. If your account, why was your account terminated, Arvosi? Can you create a new one? I know it's not that easy because they check like IP addresses and everything like that, supposedly. Ignacio Vela, hey, how's it going again? Court Funk says, I'm moving into the web space again, I think. Websites has always been fun to me, but dealing with browser compatibility used to be an issue and not fun. So I moved into Flash with ActionScript 3, then Adobe dropped it, but now with Flutter I can avoid writing CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. Cool. I actually don't mind writing HTML and JavaScript, and I enjoyed that part too. It was a cross-browser compatibility. And when jQuery came out, we're talking like, what was it? Was it 2010? I think it was like 2010 when I started using jQuery. And one of the best things about jQuery was it took care of cross-browser compatibility for you. And I know now you got all these other frameworks out there, Vue and Angular and everything. So it might not be as big an issue as I remember it being. But Isaac Balatuma, hey, how's it going? Oh, by the way, everybody, for those of you guys who are just watching quietly in the wings, go ahead and say hello so everyone knows you're here. Let's see. Slap Salmon Davis says, hi, I'm building a fitness app. Are subscription-based models the most profitable strategy these days? I don't know if they're the most profitable because I have not used it, but I would imagine so. However, for me, like if I do a subscription, usually there's like a 7-day trial or something like that. And if as long as you can show value in that first 7 days, then it should work. Now, So I think one of the things that I'm concerned about with a subscription is like if your app is only used for a couple of days, and that they might just go ahead and cancel the subscription before it actually renews, before payment actually comes out. Whereas if you did like a straight out payment, like a managed, like either a managed payment or a non-consumable payment, then you get the money. I mean, they would pay for it before they actually see it, but then it's a tougher sell. But I don't know. Is anybody out there who is doing subscription? Let us know, because I haven't done it yet. Jack Walter says, "How do you keep yourself motivated?" Oh, sorry. Let me. Isaac says, "How can I get my Android app to always receive Firebase notifications in foreground and the background, even when an app is killed, just like the social media apps, like WhatsApp's doing?" That should happen anyway. You put that in the is it Android manifest? That should happen. It should be. You have 3 states of push notifications. You have when it's open, when it's running in the background, and when it's closed. When it's closed, you still get those messages, but when you open, so that's but you don't have control over everything. So like sometimes people will say, if you get a push notification, then do something else, whatever, like, I don't know, let's say if you get a push notification, then you send coordinates back or something like that. But that's not going to work because the application, not if the application is killed, but that's the whole purpose of push notifications. Is you're supposed to be able to get them even when the app is closed. We did it with, we did it in Ionic. We did it in Ionic and in a few other apps. But yeah, that's the way that it should work. And then you think about how you handle it different ways. That's why you pass in like the badge. So it's on iOS it's different than Android, but there's kind of similarities there. And Jake Walter says, "How do you keep yourself motivated?" It's Jake, there are days where you're just like, oh. But there's other days where you just get excited about what's going on. And I think one of the things that I have to keep reminding myself is, like, you ever tell yourself the story that, like, okay, one day I'm going to tell everybody about this and how tough these times were, and I'm going to be the hero of this story, right? You're like, these are just like every success story has like the crap moments that lead up to it. Like, I was destitute, I was down on my luck, and then I pulled through. And that's always those are the best things ever. Like, I think when I think about my background and my past, and all the things that I'm most proud of are the things that I did when times were tough, right? They're the times when, like, tell the same story all the time. Coming out to England, no job, no money, I was in debt. I had a baby. I couldn't find. I was working in a factory, packing yogurt into boxes. I applied for jobs every single day. I was doing 10 CVs a day, sending them out, and I got no interviews. I got 3 interviews in a course of 2 months, and I kind of resigned myself to the fact that I was going to be working in that factory for the rest of my life. I had a degree in history, American history, which did me no good. Nobody was looking for an American history teacher, at least not in the immediate area where I could take the bus to, because I couldn't afford to drive anywhere. And for me, the one of the most proudest things, I think, I mean, there are moments in my life where I'm proud of, like, going to a charity shop and getting a suit that would cost me £8, which is, I guess, about $10 or $12. It was like somebody probably died in it, and so I get this suit, and I wear my army shoes, and I got a tie from the charity shop for like 50p, and I got on a train to go to Canary Wharf in London, and which I could not afford. Like, you're making these you're trying to think. I couldn't afford to get a new printer so I could print out CVs. I couldn't afford to take the train into London, right? And all this stuff. If I knew it was going to work, it would have been easy. But I didn't know it was going to work. I didn't even know if I was just being a total idiot doing it, right? And and you try these things, and they either work out or they don't. And when they do work out, you've got one hell of a story. You got that pat yourself on the back. You know what? When times were tough, I I came through. It was tough. And it's easy to forget in the moment how tough it was. It's easy to forget that back then I didn't know if it was going to work. Back then, I felt a bit like an idiot. I mean, I was sitting in, so the only 2 interviews I had before that one was Thames Trains as a ticket collector and a Blockbuster Video night manager, right? And those are the only 2 interviews I had, and I get invited to this open evening at Barclays Capital. I had no idea why I was invited, but they made me take this little math test, and I've never thought of myself as good at math. And then I went there, and there was like 70 people in the room, and I started making small talk thinking maybe these guys are all like newbies as well, but they weren't. They all had like computer experience. Because I remember talking to one guy in the lobby, and he was like, he flew down from, said he just flew down from Glasgow. He's a project manager at this software firm, and I told him I work in a factory packing yogurt into boxes. The night before I was wearing white Wellington boots and overalls, and I felt like I just didn't belong there. I was almost like ridiculous. I felt stupid for being there. Like, for whatever reason they invited me, I didn't belong there because everybody else there was way more qualified than I was. My CV had, the only computer experience on my CV was I had WordPerfect experience. And all I knew how to do was write a document. I didn't even know how to do, I didn't know macros. I probably didn't even know how to format it, to be honest with you. Right? But somehow I went in there, somehow I impressed them on the interview, and then they hired me, and then I was like, then I was really scared because then I was going to be going to this job that I was totally unqualified for. I didn't lie. I did not lie on the interview. I think they just kind of liked me. I think they liked me. That's all these problem solving skills, and I remember they told me, they said they're taking a chance on me. They wanted it was like an experiment. They had no idea how it was going to work out, and I was like, okay, right? And I read everything. I read every single book. They had a learning library. I read every book on the train. It's 2 hours there, 2 hours back, and I was just and it was funny because after a while you realize that nobody reads everything. Nobody keeps up with the technology. I mean, so some people do. The really good developers do. They always know what's new, what's going on, but some people they just go to work. They learn what they needed to in university, and they kind of they learn on the job. And after a while, it was, my salary kept going up and up and up, and and I think about just all, like, at no point along the way was it certain. On no point along the way did I think, I think everything's going to be okay. I always thought things are going bad. So when I have a tough week or tough year or tough day or whatever, I have to remind myself of the fact that, every success story has the crap days, those days where you just question whether or not you can even pull it off. And that's what's going to make the better story when we get to the end of it. At least I hope so. Well, we'll find out. But yeah, that's the way. I think that's the best way to stay motivated, right? You just know if things are tough, and there's always going to be tough days, and there's always going to be days where you don't think. It's just, for me, self-doubt has been an issue my whole life, right? Even doing videos, it's like that. God, am I really those? But you pull through. Let's see. Arvochi says, my name was almost the same as another publisher account which was terminated. I didn't have any apps on it. Communication was very bad with Google. Okay. So Simon Suppertime says, what has a customer of yours done that's made working with them great? What has a customer of mine done? Sometimes a customer as a client. Okay, so I was talking with somebody about this earlier today. So there's some clients where sometimes they'll, like, I have a client send me a bottle of Dom Perignon, right? Which I'm not a big champagne drinker, but I knew the name, right? I thought, well, this must be expensive, right? And it's kind of nice that they thought of me, right? Because this is and other clients, they just they'll recommend you. I had one client recommend me to a competitor, right? Which you think would be like, sure, but it was like, no, they on speaking terms with this competitor said they need this kind of app too. I gave them your name, and we were able to, so we had this new client. So it was like a referral, and referrals are always good that come with clients, and that's always nice. And sometimes like we have a couple clients now where they have developers, so they have their own development team, and they just, they're not interested in doing an app themselves, or they don't have the skills to do an app, whatever. So it's working with their developers, and I like that too, because then like as the whole conversation changes, like you're talking to an owner of a company, like a client owner, and they're, you have one way, you're talking in generalities, but then when you talk to the developer, you're saying, okay, all right, so we're going to send the HTTP request to your API, and we expect the response to get back in this, but if we don't have this, we want to get this code back, or whatever. And we're just, and then I'll just be able to see what their systems look like, and they'll, if they ask a question about mine, just like I have no problem telling them exactly how something works on the app side, and it's just kind of nice to work with other developers, because it's just nice to get, to dust off the skills and not just be the salesperson of stuff. So that's something that working with them, I like that. Like if there's really good developers at a company, I like working with them too. And because you would think it'd be the opposite. You think there would be, I don't know, jealousy. Because I've worked with some clients where I think the senior developer, like it was one client I worked with. It was years ago. It wasn't even apps. It was just like I was a contractor working at this place, and they had this this guy who was a developer, and he was just like, he thought he was like the best thing in the world, and he was really, even the owner said that he was really jealous of me, right? And I wasn't like doing it. I wasn't trying to take his job. I didn't want his job. He was very proud of his job title, but he just didn't like me. He just did not like me, and I was trying so hard to brown nose and suck up to him, right? Because you want to get you gotta get them on your side. Otherwise, everything's gonna be difficult, right? Getting anything done is gonna be difficult. So you're like, hey, it's so you don't go in there and badmouth the other developers. You're like, hey, let's work together. But he didn't like me very much. So yeah, I like that. So I think and I think Simon. Stephen, more than anything, I think it's just when they really appreciate that what you do for them. Like if you could do something where really fundamentally changes their company, right, and it makes their lives easier, and they see that and appreciate it, then that's really rewarding. Let's see. Antonio Storney says, "Ooh, sorry, I know I'm going off way too many tangents again." Antonio says, "Hi, Eric. About 2 months ago, I quit my full-time job as a freelancer developer, and I'm trying to start my own business. Your videos are great inspiration to me. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas." Thanks, Antonio. I appreciate it. Dimitar Milkin says, "Hi, Eric. I was wondering, do you use Java? Have there been a lot of changes since Java 8, or are you moving to Kotlin? What do you think on the matter?" Mostly lately, I've been just doing, I do a lot of JavaScript in platforms myself. And I use Lua with Corona, and I've been doing a bit of Dart with Flutter. But in terms of Android, I still just use Java. And I know I should move on to Kotlin, but I just haven't done. I think it's just learning the new language. And I know it shouldn't be that difficult to do. I mean, I think if I was learning from scratch, then I'd probably just go straight into Kotlin. Like when it comes to iOS side, I mean, Swift, hands down, Swift is so much better than Objective-C, but we have a lot of legacy stuff that's in Objective-C. So, if I had to hire an iOS developer, like for agency work, I'd probably get an Objective-C developer just because he can handle the old legacy stuff. But I don't like it as a language. I think it's simplified. And Kotlin is something that I get asked about a lot, but I don't know very much about it. And I should, because, I think with Java, one of the reasons is if I come across a problem and I'm looking for a solution, if somebody gives a code sample, is it likely to be in Kotlin or Java? If it's on the Android site, it'll be both. But what most developers are using, and my assumption has always been that it's been Java still, but I could be wrong. Avochi says, yes, I've talked to another person who was terminated because of the same reason. My name was one letter off of the different account, which was terminated, and they thought I was the other person. I would think try very hard to get back in touch with them. Isaac says, thanks for the question about Firebase notifications. No problem. Slap Salmon Davis. Where does that name come from? I've seen the top fitness apps charge as much as $24.55 a month. Do you think it's better to focus on premium features for the small pool of paying users, or generic features for the mass free users? I think you should have generic free. Like you should have. It should be useful for the free users, but they should also be able to see the benefits of the pay, like of subscribing. So there's one I'm using at the moment. I use it at the gym. It's just like a timer. It's like on iOS, and it's just a workout timer. It's it's pretty good, but it's got like a subscription, and I've never seen the point of doing the subscription, but I use it all the time, which means every time I use the app, I see the little reminder saying, subscribe to the full version, and you could get this, this, and this, right? And it was like, so as long as the app is useful, they have more opportunities to try to convince me, right? But if it's not useful, then I uninstall it, and they're not able to convince me at all. So I think you should have something there that's useful. Even though as a developer, you're like, well, why should I give them something for free when they should pay for it? But the more you get them, like I said, if the more you get them in your store, they might actually buy something at the till. So Muhammad Oais, hey, how's it going? Let's see, which one is better, Facebook ads or AdMob? For me, it's been AdMob, so I still just use AdMob, and occasionally I'll turn on the Facebook ad network. But yeah, so because I don't know because I think Facebook ad network. I think if you're focused on one country, like if you're because it varies based on the countries and everything like that. So, but for me it's AdMob, but other people might disagree. I know I talked to people who said Facebook is way better. Dude, Facebook's way better. Right, but it's like for me, I haven't really seen that. So, and I've seen people say, you should be using App 11 or Chart Boost and all that stuff. But for me, it's been AdMob. And another thing I've always been afraid of, like moving away from AdMob and trying other providers, because I used to change all the time. One of the things that I'm afraid of is that one of these other ad providers are going to do something wrong or include some library that gets the app suspended or whatever, and I think with AdMob, at least they're Google and they're not going to do that, and I know that's probably, why would an ad network do that? But I think if I just stick with Google, I don't want to get suspended for something I don't have any control over. Sarathi Yu says, hi Eric, which one is good for front-end development of a mobile app, native or cross-platform technology? I'm a Xamarin developer and willing to move on Android. What is your view? I think that being a Xamarin developer, it depends. Like if you want to do your own stuff. Well, actually, no. Either way, Xamarin, at least you can do iOS and Android, and it seems to keep up with all the latest changes in the SDK. So every time it's Google I/O, they're like Xamarin's right on top of it. They've had all the betas, they're part of the whole decision making process and everything. And if you're gonna become you're gonna work for somebody else, or you're gonna take on a contract, or if times get rough and you need to take on a contract, then I think the Xamarin would help you a lot because it's more of a unique skill, right? So, but having said that, going from C# to Android with Java, I think you might be able to figure things out a bit. At least have I think you have be the expert in Xamarin, but have a passing knowledge in Android. I think that would be really useful. It'd be really useful career-wise. But let me know, guys. Let me know. Let Sarathi know what you guys think. Muhammad always says, you have so much experience. Please tell us where to place your ads and where not to, and how much ads should I place in my app banners and interstitials. So there's actually a good article on the on the AdMob policies. So add mob placement rules. I'm just gonna see if I can find it here real quick. Share my screen. So there's a, where is it? Banner placements implementation guide, discourage banner implementations. So there's this like a graph on one of these pages. Oh, well, there used to be, there's someone somewhere, but basically you can't have it. It has to be at a transition, like an interstitial has to be at a transition. Banners can't be covering anything else. What you want to do is keep from having accidental clicks, right? Which is, when I first started doing apps, I remember somebody was working in the office, and I didn't know any other app developers, so I was kind of saying, I released this app, and I remember somebody saying you should have you should have an ad and a button on it, and the button keeps jumping around, so they accidentally click the ad. He said he'd see somebody else do that, and it was a clever thing. And I thought, no, you get suspended, right? And that's like so many people try to come up with these ways to get accidental clicks, and I always wondered for me, like, how many of these clicks are accidental? Like, are there any accidental clicks? Because it's or people actually genuinely clicking on those ads to go to where they're at. Because part of you is like, I want them to stay in my app because it's my app. But the other part is like, if they click on the ads and go see whoever's placing the ad, then then I make money from it, and hopefully they'll make money and everything too, so that they'll take out more ads and spend more money on it. But so it's like, it's the same way. And I would say, like, I'm sure people who write television shows, like genuine like dramas and things, I'm sure they don't want ad breaks. They would prefer not to have ad breaks, right? But that's what pays the bills. Isaac Ballantuda says, if you have your own account and you have created a couple of clients' accounts, plus you are employed as a developer in some company, what happens if your personal account is suspended? So for me, Isaac, I have the Overpass account, and my clients all set up their own accounts, and then they grant me access to it. So this is one of the things I'm trying to be very careful about what I put on the on the Play Store, because I'm afraid of being removed. And it's like, I think the thing is, it's like, I'm afraid of being suspended because I don't think I'm doing anything I would be suspended for, but I just hear so many people get suspended. And I'm just worried I'll get accidentally suspended. Like, it's like if you're driving and you're afraid you're going to get pulled over and you're not doing anything wrong, like you're not speeding, you're not swerving, you're not doing anything, you're just driving, but you see a cop, and part of you's like, ooh, be on your best behavior, right? But it's like, it's just like that. So I think that with Google sometimes, I think, not only am I not going to do anything wrong, I don't want to look like I could potentially do anything wrong. So, when ear agent, ear assist, whatever I named it to last, when that was the pro version, was suspended for the last time, I removed the free version because I didn't want to have another suspension. Right? I'm afraid of the account getting removed because of that. And I also keep, like, I will. So in the past, I've been able to get my appeals. So your app gets suspended, you appeal it, the appeal gets rejected, and then you appeal it again, and you keep going back and doing that. And I was somehow able to get that to work most times. Like, somebody's going to read it eventually, but they got slower and slower at actually reading these emails. So let's see. CordFunk says, I think it's really useful to have a good grasp on the native side, even when using a platform like Xamarin or Flutter. You have to be able to reach down to a lower level if the need arises, which it will unless you are only doing simple apps that collect and display simple data. Yeah, I mean, I've had to do that where you go in, so like on the Cordova side of things, you have to go into a Cordova plugin and just look through the code, figure out what the hell's going on here. Right? I can't stand, well, when a developer comes to me and says, oh, this is not working on, this plugin's not working, and I'll ask why, and they don't know, right? Because they don't know how to, if you have a basic grasp of the language, you could go through and kind of figure it out. Like, if you know how to step through the code, know basically where things are. And if you're going from C# and Xamarin to Android, to Java, you should be pretty good. I mean, you have, runnable threads, and the variables are, like the string. Like for me, the string variable, like declaring a string variable as a capital S as opposed to lowercase s, that kind of stuff gets me. Or going with a string buffer instead of a string buffer, or string. Oh, I'm forgetting it, but C# has a different word. So that kind of stuff is like different, but most, like, you should be able to go from that and look at the Android and see what's going on. But yeah, I would get like a basic understanding. I agree with that, Cord Funk. Newman Bhatti says, hi, sir. Hey, how's it going, Newman? So have I answered all questions? Are we done already? 17:55. Wow, this is it. Okay, well, I don't know if we're going to do a live stream next year. Or sorry, we'll do it next year, but I don't know if we'll do one next week. Okay, Rodrigo, you're right. I'm not going to give up for the year. I'll do a couple more videos this year, and then that's it. We'll put this year behind us. Well, me and was it Cord Funk? You had a rough year this year, right? We're going to put this year behind us. Next year is going to be awesome. 2020 is going to be our year. In fact, 2020s are going to be our decade, right? We're gonna let's all kill it next decade. Right? And Ron Sand says, thank you so much for your help this year. Your thoughts and ideas have helped me a lot. You're a good man. I believe so. Thanks, Ron. I really to do that today. I could use that. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Ron. Sarathi said, that's cool. That's why I would like to move onto native side for both platforms. Thank you. No problem. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for joining the live stream this week. I hope you guys have a great week ahead. I hope you had a great week this week and a good weekend. And and Merry Christmas. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Those of you guys who are celebrating Christmas, I hope you guys have a fantastic holiday. I'll be putting out a few videos before the end of the year, but then that's it. 2020 is going to be our year, so I'm really looking forward to it. And have a great weekend. Thanks a lot. Talk to you guys again soon, whenever. Bye.